The Democrats' mail-in ballot scheme is officially backfiring as President Trump has begun to absolutely surge in the polls. In this video, we're going to take a look at how the Democrats' strategy for 2020 is completely unraveling, how a number of trends are all working in President Trump's favor, and how more and more pundits are recognizing that 2020 is looking to be nothing short of a repeat of 2016. You are not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone, patrons all across the globe. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you as always. If this is your first time here with us and you're looking for some daily encouragement and optimism as well as some analysis to help you make sense of these crazy times, and you've found your oasis in this channel. We post 2 videos a day analyzing current events, align some super awesome conservative trends so we can all live in the present in light of even better things to come. It doesn't get better than that, does it? So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. It'd be an absolute privilege to have you as a regular part of this channel where each and every day we together celebrate the inevitable collapse of left-wing globalism and the unstoppable rise of a new conservative age. Speaking of a new conservative age, if you are looking for an encouraging and hopeful alternative to all the fake news that's being spewed out there on a daily basis from the leftist likes of CNN and MSNBC and the New York Times, the Washington Post, you're going to find no better antidote than what's in the pages of my book, The Return of Christendom. Now, don't take my word for it. Just read through all the reviews on Amazon, over 150 of them, and you'll see how this book cuts through all the cynicism and despair that we often feel living in this crazy globalist left-wing world. In page after page, I give you all the data and statistics and indicators that show nothing less than a new conservative Christian majority emerging throughout the United States and Europe, and it's already transforming the world map into a more nationalist, populist, and traditionalist world. And if you click on that link below, it gets better. You ready for this? We're offering it for a limited time at a 50% discount. That's right, 50% off. So don't wait. It's a limited time offer. Click on that link and get your book at a super discount today and arm yourself with the information you need to crush fake news once and for all. All right, gang, so let's dive right in here. I mean, I'll just say it, okay? The left is self-destructing at this point with Amy Barrett and all. I mean, they're just becoming unglued. I know you have to look past a lot of the bellicose prognostications about Joe Biden with the having the election in a lock and so forth. A lot that did for them in 2016. Same rhetoric, right? The media activists, the politicians, the liberals, they're all unraveling when you look past it, okay? And it's being pointed out, the New York Times, the mecca of far-left journalism, so-called journalism, they are so pathetically desperate to stop Trump's massive momentum that they're actually attempting to resurrect the whole tax issue. I mean, that alone should tell you how bad things are for the left right now. They're actually going back, trying to hammer Trump over his taxes. All right. Already a number of outlets are pointing out how utterly futile all of this is. I love Red State's take. And remember, Red State used to be a Never Trumper website. No longer. Look at this headline. CNN's Trump taxes hot take age like a turd in the sun. CNN did everything they could try to prop up the New York Times' supposed bombshell report on Trump's tax returns, and it all turned out to be one of the biggest nothing burgers on the planet. It was a total dud, and another reason why more and more Americans are just simply turning off the mainstream news media. And it's becoming more and more clear that the mainstream media-driven campaign for Joe Biden ain't working anymore. It's beginning to implode. And we're seeing signs of this everywhere. And I am very appreciative of the analyst Larry Schweikert for putting all of this together for us here. I think he's right on the money in terms of his analysis. And let me know what you think in the comments section below. Here's how he's putting all the data together for us right now at the end of September of where we stand right now. I think Schweikart, first and foremost, rightly points out 2 fundamental reasons why we shouldn't fear mail-in ballots. First, it's because we're catching the fraud, okay? The fact that we're worried about the fraudulent mail-in ballots that are being discovered should actually have the counterintuitive effect of calming our nerves, All right, like what we recently saw in Texas, where Democrats were being charged in a vote harvesting scheme back from 2018. Mail-in voter fraud is not only easy to commit, it's also very easy to find and to prove. So that's the first thing. Whatever fraud is being attempted by the Democrats, it's easily being exposed. And as we talked about in our last video, we never dreamed we were going into this election with a 6-3 conservative majority Supreme Court, which promises to protect the integrity of law and order rather than completely undermine it, as we've seen over the last several months with rioters and looters hailed as civil rights activists by leftist Democrat city councils and mayors. So his point here is simply that while there will most certainly be fraud, it's going to be radically limited to most likely being negligible in terms of its effect on the outcome of the election. And he's noticing something else that's coming back to bite the Democrats. This is interesting. While in-person voting is virtually 100% counted, mail-in ballots have a disproportionate rejection rate. In other words, the Democrats' reliance on vote by mail is turning out to be a radically flawed reliance on a form of voting where a significant amount of the votes are tossed out. But even with that said, it's turning out that Democrats are behind, way behind their 2016 numbers, for example, in North Carolina. They're behind 20%, while the Republicans are up 2%. Their early vote lead in Florida, the Democrats, is shrinking daily. And if they don't come out of Florida with a massive lead of about 300,000 early votes, Trump will most likely win the state easily by 250,000 votes. And so this is why the ultra-left website ACCUSE is noting that Democrat operatives are beginning to panic. They're actually trying to pivot back to getting their voter base to come out on November 3rd for in-person voting. When all is said and done, vote by mail simply isn't working out the way the Democrats had planned. And so now they're shifting their strategy to election day, to in-person voting, but it's too late, right? It's a desperate attempt to make up the difference in the lag of mail-in voters, but it's too late. They've scared their senior citizen voters into hiding from the whole COVID panic. They've closed down churches and other, common polling places. So unless you're already fired up and determined to go to the polls like Trump's voters, in many ways, you're shot at this point. So the Democrats are panicking as we speak. The mail-in votes are not happening at the volume that they were counting on. And then you have voter registration trends, okay? So registration trends in Florida, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Arizona, New Mexico, and Nevada are through the roof for Republicans. Way, way, way beyond Schweikert's most optimistic projections. Things are so bad right now as we speak for the Democrats that they may only end up with about 150,000 vote lead in Florida on the day of the election, November 3rd. Just to put that in perspective, they had almost 1 million vote lead in 2012, the last time they won the state. So things are looking pretty dire here for the Democrats. And things get even worse when it comes to the polls. But first, we've got something for you podcast fans out there. We recently launched our brand new Turley Talks podcast, which tens of thousands of you have been downloading. I cannot thank you enough for that. We're so excited to share with you that we are now the 14th most downloaded podcast for American news on Apple Podcasts. We've jumped 20 slots just in the last couple of weeks. It really is absolutely amazing. And we're now officially in the top 20 of American news broadcasts, and we have all of you to thank for it. But you can actually help us become number one, the number one conservative news and commentary podcast, by simply clicking on the link below in the pinned comments section and signing up to download our new podcast. Twice a day, every day, you can take Turley Talks anywhere you go. So make sure to click on that link below and sign up for our Turley Talks podcast, and let's make it to number one together. All right, gang. So regarding the polling surge, all right, if we go over to American Greatness, they have a great piece on how Trump is absolutely outperforming among Latinos and blacks in comparison to 2016. We talked about this last week. They noted that in Florida, an NBC Morris poll conducted earlier this month showed President Trump with 50% of the Hispanic vote to Biden's 46%. Again, by comparison, in 2016, Clinton won 62% of Hispanics compared to 35% for Trump. So Trump is just killing it among Latinos, particularly in Florida. We're finding as well that Trump is also outperforming 2016 with black Floridians. The same poll shows him with 11% support compared to 8% in the last election. We're seeing similar numbers in Nevada. A poll 750 likely voters conducted by Pulse Opinion found Biden leading Trump by just a single point, 49% to 48%. As in Florida, Trump is running strong with Hispanics, getting 47% support to Biden's 49%. And what's so interesting here is that Nevada, it shouldn't even be in play right now. Rasmussen pointed this out. This poll by Pulse Opinion was corroborated by a recent Rasmussen poll that also found the same 48 to 49% head-to-head matchup between Trump and Biden. And Rasmussen was like, Nevada is now officially in play. Trump could easily take Nevada, which has trended blue in presidential politics over the last couple of decades. Now, check this indicator out. Trump has had 250,000 people attend his rallies since Labor Day. So we're not even talking a month yet. 250,000 people have attended his rallies. And during the same time, Biden has seen just 84 people show up to his. I mean, let that hit you. It's not even a race. Of course, the mainstream Marxist media doesn't ever, they don't want you to believe your eyes. Just believe them. Believe that the nation actually wants Sleepy Joe as president. But then you look at the audiences that these guys can attract at their rallies, and it's not even remotely a race at this point. And we were there in Harrisburg, by the way, over the weekend. His rally was absolutely amazing. And I love seeing so many of you out there. It was great to touch base with you personally. It was awesome. And in addition to all this, by the way, too, we have actual elections to draw from. For example, Helmut Norpoth, who has devised the single most accurate election forecast model out there called the primary model. It's predicted rightly 25 of the last 27 presidential elections. That's a track record going back all the way to 1912 when presidential candidates had to first win primaries. Now, he's noted, and listen to this, Helmut Norpoth has noted that we've never had a president running for re-election who ran unopposed in the primaries go on to lose re-election. Okay? He's never seen that before. Every president seeking re-election who ran unopposed in the primaries, like Trump did, basically, went on to win re-election. Here's another fun fact. We've never had a candidate place 5th in New Hampshire, like good old Sleepy Joe did. We've never had a presidential candidate place 5th in New Hampshire and then go on to win the presidency. And that's of course, because there's a reason why you placed 5th when voters had a number of other candidates to choose from. Here's another fun fact. We've never had a third timer, someone running for president for the third time, go on to win the national election. So when we look at actual elections, how people have actually voted in the past, not simply opinion polls, which are notoriously unreliable when it comes to today's electorate, like we learned in 2016. It's like we learned nothing from 2016. But when we turn away from the opinion polls that can't tell us who's actually going to vote, and when we look at actual election precedents, Trump has everything working in his favor and Biden has everything working against him at this point. That's why the primary model gives Trump a 91% chance of being reelected with over 360 electoral votes to boot. So all the trends are moving in Trump's direction. All the while, the whole mail-in voting scheme is beginning to blow up in the Democrats' face. Not a bad way to start the week. Now, before you go, make sure to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel. And you will definitely want to check out my latest video. I just uploaded it on how the Democrats are absolutely hysterical over losing the Supreme Court seat to Amy Coney Barrett as more and more realize that President Trump is indeed poised to win re-election. You're not going to want to miss this, so make sure to click on the link, and I will see you over there. God bless.